Okay, let's take a quick look at how to, in this case, build a conditional formatting rule that's going to help us see which resources are connected to, in this case, a specific VPC. So what I have here is I'm actually in just the VPC topology view, which is one of the templates that's offered in Lucidscale. And what I have done here is I have pulled up a conditional formatting rule. And I've created two here. And the reason I've done that is that you do need to select what this will apply to. So for example, I have one that's going to apply to all non-container items, which is basically all resources. It's going to be anything but like the account, the region, the VPC, the subnet. And then I also have one that is specifically applying to VPCs, which I can choose from this list. So let's build the all non-container items one first. And what I'm doing here is I actually turn on advanced rule options because what I'm trying to see is which ones are connected. So I want to come in here and I'm going to say equals connected deep, because what that's going to do is pull a list of everything. So if I follow this path, like everything that has a line drawn to anything else, I'm going to say connected deep. And specifically, I'm going to pull from everything connected deep the value of the .name option. So basically for every shape on the page, it's going to pull a list of the names, which you can see in the data over here, of everything. And I'm specifically looking for US East peering 1. So I'm going to say if this list contains this value that I just copy pasted, then I want to highlight it. So that's going to be all the resources that are connected in some deep way over to this one. And when I hit enter, you'll notice that it unapplied from things that are not currently connected, but it's only applied to things that have the lines that eventually lead back to this VPC, which in my account is like a lot of different things, but there you go. All right, so that's how I'm going to highlight the specific resources. Then I could actually choose the icon that I might want. So I could like choose blue and maybe I want it to be, a red information icon, or I want it to be purple. I can customize this however I would like it to look. And then I can also add hover text if I wanted to say like connected to, and then I can just paste that name there. So what that means is when I hover over that I, it's going to, once I click out and save, it's going to let me know, hey, this is connected to this in some manner. I can even choose the position of the icon if I don't want it in the corner, but I tend to like that top corner. So that is my first rule. Now I'm going to duplicate that rule and I am going to change it a little bit. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom and select VPCs. So now this is going to apply to VPCs, and you'll notice immediately, look, it's getting this little icon here. And so what I do need to update or change here is basically I need to come in and change that styling in some way. So in this case, I am going to maybe give it a different icon. If I wanted to, I could change the color or something. And I have the option to change all of that. But because I'm now applying it to VPCs, there's not really anything I need to change about the formula in this case, because it's still going to detect those connections. Now, I am going to add in an else if here, and I'm going to just say this $name equals my choice, because that will basically allow me to then highlight the actual VPC. And so what that will do is, rather than sort of making it disappear into the rest of them, it's going to make that one stand out in some way. In this case, I just put an icon on it. I could add hover text and save it. So that's how I built these rules. I'm going to go ahead and delete these old ones so that you can see, here are the rules that I had built previously. And if I wanted to, I could change this style so it matches the others. So it's going to be like a little orange check mark. And you'll notice now that what I've got is every single shape that is deeply connected to this VPC itself being highlighted. But everything that's then deeply connected to it has some kind of icon indicating that they are in some way connected. And we could do this differently. If I didn't want to use the icon, I could have done the shape style. So I could have said, actually, make all of these shapes like this orange color, or something along those lines. I'm not going to do that because I think it looks, a little too bright there in this case for me. I could have turned the icons orange, but that is how you would go ahead and build a line or a formula that kind of traces a path like that. A quick note about filters, which do use kind of the same option here. This is certainly possible that you could use a filter and say, I'm going to save that. Remember that you would need to duplicate it, and you might want to apply it specifically to the VPCs. But what can be odd about the filters, and you'll notice here, even with this applied, even though, let's put this on non-container items, when I have these applied, some things aren't showing up properly the way it did for conditional formatting. And the reason this is sometimes funky with Lucidscale is it's detecting these line connections. And if something gets removed, because the filter's saying, oh, it shouldn't be there, then suddenly the filter gets a little bit confused because it's looking to save things that have the connections, but the line isn't there because the resource got taken away. So that is why I would recommend using not a filter for this, but rather a conditional formatting rule that is capable of then showing you kind of where that path flows.